Hello everyone, Larry Satchwell here. September 1st, the unofficial end of summer. Unbelievable. We are almost out of the dog days. Next week, our highs are in the 80s, but it has been hot here the last 3 or 4 weeks, in the 90s, and heat index in the hundreds. I have not been doing a lot out here except trying to do maintenance like this, just cleaning up between the paths. At one time, I had a small push mower that would fit between here. In fact, they were made for that mower, and that mower died several years ago. Anyway, let's take a quick walk around. There's not a lot going on. Well, back in the corner here, I finally got this bed completely put away for the winter. I'll add some more hay and straw on this as we go. Still working on this one, and there's really no reason for me not to go ahead and pull these out. These I didn't water, and they were looking really sickly, or poorly, as we would say in the South here. And so I just let them go, but I haven't pulled them out yet. There'll be some bugs in there. I'll throw those into the chickens, and they'll have a little bit of a treat. This is how we harvest this year-round lettuce. It just keeps growing up, and we just keep keeping the plants off the side here, if you can see through the crabgrass. We had enough for the wilted lettuce salad the other day. This is something that's been chewing on my tomatoes. I have to put an end to him. Sorry if that grossed you out. All right. This is not year-round lettuce. This is regular lettuce. I have some more up under the porch in my little nursery area. And as it gets too big for those cells, I bring it down here. But if you've ever tried to water baby lettuce like this, it drowns very easily. So these I had protecting some trees at one time. I just cut them in half. They have those little slits in them. And when I go to water these several times a day, all I have to do is put the water in here and it goes right to the roots. So some of those are living. There were several more in there that have passed away. My tomatoes, I have a bloom on this. It looks like I might actually get some tomatoes before the end of the year. We have, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that? That little guy. We have thousands of toads going through the garden here. Anyway, this is a bush cucumber plant. This is not what was that? Straight eights. And we're getting a lot of cucumbers right now. A lot of blooms on there. I'm not exactly call it a bush. This straight eights needed a lot more trestling than I gave it. And I'm going to try to get over to Tractor Supply today. They have their panel gates on sale, $5 off, $22. This is going to be a strawberry bed, and I've got some ideas here. I'll do a special video on it. I've got some ideas here. I'm going to use pressure treated lumber, and I know that's controversial. Lots of people say it's okay. The government says it's okay if you trust our government. But I've got an idea that I think might solve the problem. It's a very cheap way to make raised beds, but if you're concerned about ingesting these the chemicals that it might or may not emit, then I think I have a solution. This water hose, let's follow this for a second. I'll show you what I'm doing with this. About a month ago, I bought this filter to add to my filtering system because I've still got too many fish. It has a UV light down there. The water has been crystal clear. Here, you can open this up and turn this, and water comes out. I have this little adaptation here that I made from stuff that I had around, and so I can water with pond water anywhere in the garden. Anywhere in the garden. This is more of that year-round lettuce, and even in the 90s, it does not get bitter. I am so impressed with that. I love that year-round lettuce. This is my trimmer. I think I made a note in the last video that I needed to get the crepe myrtle blooms out of my pond, and I use that to get all those down there. This is my extra water bucket. I keep this full. It's also an excellent mosquito trap. If I fill it up so that the water is in here, mosquitoes lay their eggs in there. When I tap it like this, I see hundreds of mosquitoes coming up here. I don't think you'll be able to see them, but hundreds of mosquitoes, maybe you can't, come up to the top here. They can't escape that, and it makes a great, great mosquito trap. Turning around to the pond here, I've got more water here. I've had a really hard time with ammonia, and I probably did a 75% water change, which is really drastic, over the last week, and it finally tested ammonia free, but that won't last unless I get rid of some fish. I planted at least a dozen sunflowers in here, and only 2 survived. Still having, this is a volunteer zinnia. My peppers really suffered from the lack of rain, and the other day, after 3 weeks, I finally broke down and watered them. Watered the garden here very thoroughly. I left the water on for almost an hour. Hope my wife doesn't hear that. And then 2 hours later, this happened. Don't you know it? Anyway, Ethan's garden over here, the Mexican petunias are looking great. Quick trip down the perennial garden. It's doing well. It's so weedy, but I can't only work out here without my hearing aids because they fill up with water. I can only work out here for about an hour in the morning before it just feels like I'm going to have heat exhaustion. The Joe Pye weed, something is happening here. I don't understand what it is. All of a sudden, this happened. It may be a lack of water. Some of them are still looking okay. They've already bloomed. The black-eyed Susans are looking pretty nasty, actually. So are the echinacea, but I leave those seeds on there for the birds. And I got rid of the ragweed. Lori asked me, one of my most faithful viewers, asked me if ragweed was caused allergies. And Lori, you're right. I looked it up, and what I wanted to plant here was goldenrod. And I confused goldenrod with ragweed. They looked very similar, but most people are not allergic to goldenrod. So I pulled these up. Hopefully not very many have gone to seed. Otherwise, I might have ragweed all over the neighborhood. Mildred and Goldie still doing well, and they love to dig. They've made some holes over here in the perennial garden. This African, I think it's African blue basil, that, my friends, is one plant. I don't know if you have the perspective here. It's at least 6 feet wide, 3 or 3.5 feet tall, and at least 6 feet in both directions. It was very interesting. When I was doing the pollinator count, there's a bumblebee coming up right there. It's a little early for them. The bumblebees didn't prefer this plant, but the carpenter bees were so thick on here. But then I did another one about an hour after that, and it was just the opposite down here on this speedweed or veronica. The bumblebees were down here, but hardly any carpenter bees. These are false sunflowers. They keep tipping over. They're just too tall. I think this is one of those places where I might put one of my old tomato cages next year. This lantana is now 3 or 4 years old. It's doing great. Butterflies, I can't get a perspective for you on film about how many butterflies are on this plant. We had a new butterfly the other day I've never seen in the garden before. I looked it up, and it said it was a giant swallowtail. So I had a there's a hummingbird. Did you see it just went by us? Yeah, he's on that lantana right there, and I'll never be able to get him. He's still on the lantana. There he is. Can you see him right there? There he is. That hummingbird just whizzed by my camera here. I thought it was a bee, but he's working that lantana pretty hard. So the downside of having chickens run free is that they love to dig. You just found a worm. And they take up worms and they make beds like this. It's a little dust bed. So you can see they have pulled up all of my markers and dug a hole. But what am I going to do? This is my new plant. It's called a cut leaf coneflower. I was very impressed by the strength of the stems here. Over 30 inches, probably 36 inches tall. I've got it here. When this bathtub is full, it's in about 2 inches of water. It's like I need to add some water here. And it's a fall bloomer. I thought it was beautiful. So I added it. I think that's where I'm going to leave you today. I've got to get my weed eater. I'm going to do some more weed eating while it's still cool enough to do it. And then I'll go in and edit this. I have to close the door to my shed over there. The spiders are back. They are Joro spiders, an invasive species. The Department of Natural Resources tells us not to kill them, but I hate walking through the garden and hitting those webs. P.S. I just put up a video yesterday, the day before, that said I wasn't going to do any more promotional videos. And it this beautiful little pot in my email this morning, first thing. I think I'm going to decline. They're small, and I don't do a lot of container gardening. If you want to see it, leave a comment. I'll put up a video for it. And as I promised, please subscribe, share this video, leave a comment. It really does help my channel. My sweaty self here. Is that the hummingbird behind me and a butterfly? Happy gardening, friends.